What's going on, y'all? Y'all sent me a video from Patrick CC, and I think it's about how Hollywood friendships are fake as heck. Same as a lot of YouTube ones. But I think this one's going to be more specifically about, was that Seth Rogen and James Franco? Oh yeah, Seth Rogen definitely left him hanging in the wind. All right, let's see what this is about, man. Hit the hype button, drop some comments. Check out my other videos too as well.
The friendship between James Franco and Seth Rogen made them one of the strongest, most genuine duos in Hollywood.
But I do love Seth. He's kind of been there at important points in my career.
Their bond seemed unbreakable. That was until Franco got into some major controversy and Seth had a tough choice to make. He could stand up and defend his bro of 2 decades, the guy he made iconic movies and multiple millions of dollars with, denounce him, believe the allegations, and essentially prove James was guilty, or simply sidestep, stay quiet, and act like he had no idea what James was truly like behind the scenes. Somehow, Seth chose none of these options, and his response left everyone wondering if Seth really knew about James' alleged behavior, or if they were ever really friends at all. The rise and fall of James Franco was one of the classic examples of, when in Hollywood, you never really know who your friends are. James Franco was getting into trouble with the law as early as middle school, but in a weird way, it helped him get his breakout role in Freaks and Geeks. One of his favorite side hustles was stealing expensive fragrances and selling them to his classmates. He said, like in 8th grade, we started stealing cologne. We had like 30 bottles of cologne each in our lockers at school, and then we could sell cologne at the dances. It didn't get any better by the time Franco landed in high school. While he was excelling academically and developing an interest.
Niggas buying cologne in junior high school? That sounds nuts. That sounds crazy. Like, for her to be selling that frequently
in the school theater, he still gravitated towards that friend group that would encourage bad habits. And after he was caught vandalizing public property, he actually became a ward of the state, or ward of the court, where he was put under the legal custody of the government. When asked about this later in life, James said a lot of this stemmed from lacking a clear identity. By the time I got to high school, I didn't have a
I remember that happened to me. I was in a group home though, so
I ended up just getting into a lot of trouble. Even when Franco got into UCLA as an English major, he still found himself dealing with an identity crisis. He finally decided to take matters into his own hands, dropping out of college to pursue an acting career, something his parents disapproved of.
I don't know, it seemed like they were very disappointed. They're like, well, my dad actually said you're being a fool, like, for dropping out of UCLA and going to work at McDonald's.
What did he want you to do?
Well, if he could have had anything, I would have been a mathematician.
Luckily for him, his edgy personality caught the attention of writer Paul Feig.
The hell does a mathematician do right now? Like, in today's day and age, I'm sure some kind of job, maybe even working for like NASA or something.
And producer
to be doing exactly
Judd Apatow. They were casting for a show called Freaks and Geeks, a coming-of-age story where high school misfits grow up in the 1980s. They picked Franco to be the group's.
I love this show, like, with a passion. I wish it had more than like, I think it only had like 1 season. I wish it had like more episodes.
Bad boy, Daniel DeSario. Franco admits that he basically got the job because he lived his character's life in the past. What they did on that show was that they just found a bunch of people that they liked and they wrote the characters around them. In retrospect, the casting for Freaks and Geeks was actually immaculate. Franco, Linda Cardinelli, John Francis Daly, Jason Segel, Martin Starr, Seth Rogen, and Busy Phillips all sustained long-lasting careers in the industry. But even surrounded by all these talented and like-minded actors, James Franco still felt like a bit of an outcast that nobody liked, until he met Seth Rogen, who became his first real friend in Hollywood. Franco said, there was a point where most people on the show didn't like me because I took myself too seriously. I thought I was Marlon Brando or something. Then I pushed Busy over by accident, so everybody didn't like me, I think, except for Seth. And although Seth became a friend of his, I can't help but notice the strange way that they both recall hanging out back then. There was a period where Seth, Jason, and I all went to Jason's house, and they would sit at one end of the room and smoke weed, and Seth said he literally would sit in the corner. I find it interesting that instead of just saying, oh, we would hang out, they both recalled how James would essentially keep his distance from them. This definitely contributes to the aura of mystery surrounding James Franco.
Nigga, why do you gotta be knee to knee? I ain't trying to defend him or nothing. That don't sound too hard. You know what I'm saying? No, fine. Like, maybe he wanted his space. He gotta have like niggas all up on him. It's a big ass room.
Go.
I be wanting my space. Man.
In the first half of his career, he was a bit of a recluse. He didn't speak much. He didn't open up. He wasn't someone constantly being bombarded by paparazzi, and it could be due to some internal struggles. He said, "I have a very addictive personality. When I was a teenager, I got over certain addictions, and that's when I started acting. At age 17, I really threw myself into it, and that became everything, to the point where I didn't even socialize." And this extreme approach to his job now would only get worse, to the point where it started ruining his personal life and damaging his reputation in the industry. But before we dive deeper, a quick word from today's sponsor. As I've gotten older, I sometimes think it's time to spend self-dose right, doctor.
The hell is a sponsor? Because I ain't hating on his sponsor. Shout outs to him.
Of James Dean, about the life of a Hollywood legend from the 1950s. Even his buddy Seth Rogen initially told him taking on this role would be a bad idea, but James didn't see comedy roles as his future. To execute this role to his standards, he isolated himself from everyone close to him, especially his girlfriend at the time. "I got it into my head that I needed to be isolated, and so told my girlfriend at the time that I wouldn't be talking to her for 4 months. It did not go down well. We finally made a compromise where I talked to her for an hour a week on the phone. I know."
Hypothetically, if I had a girlfriend, imagination station, you would never know because I would never tell you. I would assume that would be a fucking no-go. Like, I just know. Just don't ask me how I know. They would lose their fucking mind. That's impossible. If I even had the goal to ask some shit like that, they would look at me like I was on crack. Like, excuse me? Nigga, you lucky I'm not in your shirt right now with you. What you mean? But yeah, that's intense. So the only serious role that I've seen him in was Spider-Man. That was serious? I was laughing the whole time. I was dying laughing. I could not take that nigga serious at all in Spider-Man. I don't know what it was. I could not take that nigga serious in Spider-Man. There's a few movies I've seen him as a serious role, though. Spider-Man, that nigga was comedic as fuck. Maybe it's just part 2. That nigga was hilarious.
Longer do that. He also started smoking for the first time, going through 2 packs of cigarettes in a day, in addition to bleaching his hair blonde, learning to ride a motorcycle, playing the guitar and the bongos while reading books on James Dean. But Franco's dedication paid off, as it earned him a Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a miniseries or television film, and an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a miniseries or a movie. Franco wanted to level up from here, and he began auditioning for the lead role as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. But he was chosen as Harry Osborn instead.
The role is one where I have a troubled relationship with my father, and I think that's a very relevant issue in this day and age, and I'm all for exploring that, and if kids out there can relate to that, I'm happy.
James had a very serious, dramatic presence in his career at the time, the polar opposite of the happy-go-lucky smiling goof that his fans would come to love. This seriousness was building him a very successful career, but the methods he used to fully immerse himself into his characters were seen by his co-stars as unnecessary and abusive, like when he destroyed his working relationship with Tyrese Gibson in the film.
I actually like this. Was it a movie or was it a TV show? I remember watching it though. I remember it had them boxing and shit. I enjoyed this series.
Film Annapolis. The
film. I enjoyed this movie.
The 2006 film was about a young man from the wrong side of the tracks who realizes his dream is attending the U.S. Naval Academy in Maryland. In an interview, both Tyrese and Franco appeared to approach the roles differently. Franco seemed unenthusiastic, bored, and detached, while Tyrese Gibson was more passionate about the officer's motivation.
His character sees a lot of himself in Jake, and so he focuses on Jake just because it maybe sees his potential, but he sees that he's not completely fulfilling that.
There's a much bigger picture, and the bigger picture is I won't be in my position forever.
Yeah, I was going to say, it don't seem like James Franco even watched the movie he was in. And they're like, I wouldn't describe it as that at all from what I remember. But let's hear how Tyrese.
I have to go up. So someone has to fill my shoes. And I see that in him. I see that he can be the next Cole. He can be the next great company commander.
When preparing for a boxing scene, Franco would literally punch Gibson as hard as he could.
I don't know. Tyrese was a real douche in that damn movie, so I don't know. I don't know. Explain what you did to the black guy. What was the reason why you did him dirty, nigga? I don't know. Maybe I just felt personal about that.
Which clearly bothered Tyrese. He said, James Franco is a method actor. I respect method actors, but he never snapped out of character. Whenever we'd have to get in the ring for boxing scenes, and even during practice, the dude was full on hitting me. I was always like, James, lighten up, man. We're just practicing. It got so bad that Gibson couldn't even look at Franco when the filming ended. I never want to work with him again. Franco was aware that Tyrese was
That's how a lot of method actors do too.
Upset with his method and strangely told reporters that he had heard Tyrese wanted to blow up his hotel room, but he also tried to clarify why they didn't work so well together. We've made up, or I've tried to make up with him. Maybe I was too into that role. I don't try to be mean to anybody on a movie. In the past, I've tended to isolate myself, and maybe people take that as me being rude or me not liking them, but it's really a way for me to stay in character. I really had nothing personal against Tyrese.
I like isolate myself. I'm over here messing my words. I isolate myself all the time, right? Even I remember working at a security job. I wasn't trying to fraternize with nobody, bro. And they hated me. You used to talk crap about me, you know that. It's just because I didn't want to fraternize, talk to people. I just stayed to myself, did my job, and went home. That's the type of person I am. Right, so I understand that aspect.
But I guess there were a lot of misunderstandings. And while you might think that this is just two guys being over dramatic, the reality was that James Franco's behavior led to him burning a lot of bridges, making people just genuinely not want to work with him. And besides his now distant friendship with Seth Rogen on Freaks and Geeks, it looked like the young actor hadn't made any friendships at all. He said, and then after like 10 years of that, at age 27, I realized, man, I'm so depressed. On the surface, my life seems pretty good. I have a career and everything, but I feel so isolated and lonely. But just as everything started getting dark for James, his old buddy Seth reached out and presented an opportunity that would change his career forever. Rogen was writing a movie with Freaks and Geeks producer Judd Apatow called Pineapple Express. Apatow told Franco that he should go back to comedy if he was so upset.
I'm a huge fan of Smoker films.
With his current career, and Franco accepted the offer. While they didn't know it yet, this would be the movie that made James Franco and Seth Rogen best friends in the eyes of Hollywood, only for that relationship to be put to the test when Franco would confront a near career-ending scandal. In 2008, the stoner action film Pineapple Express became the comedy of the year and stands as one of the most iconic comedy films of the early 2000s. It starred Seth Rogen as Dale Denton, a lazy process server who was constantly high, and James Franco as Saul Silver, a laid-back drug dealer who sees Denton as his best friend. The two get into a lot of trouble with a drug kingpin, and there are also a number of crazy side stories, like when Seth Rogen's character reveals he's been dating a girl from a local high school, which was just a joke, right? There's nothing weird going on there. The movie was a massive success for a comedy, earning over $100 million in the worldwide.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the girl is of legal age. Was that Amber Heard? I think the girl is of, no, that's not Amber Heard. Well, look a little like her. But I think she's of age, but she is in high school in the film.
Box office, which is almost 4 times the
supposed to show how much of a loser this nigga
original budget. As far as fans were concerned, most of this had to do with the natural chemistry between Seth Rogen and James Franco. Seth was a real-life stoner. He couldn't go 5 seconds without making a joke and following up with his signature laugh. Franco was the more reserved, chill guy. Like they got.
I'm not trying to keep pausing, my bad, but when they start talking about something I love, like stoner movies. Yeah, I was a huge Seth Rogen fan, and this is one of my favorite Seth Rogen movies.
Guy who smokes and just sits there and smiles at everybody else's jokes. Their chemistry felt authentic, almost looked like they had been best friends growing up.
You know, I've been preparing for this role my whole life, I think, in some ways, so I didn't really need to method act. James takes his job a lot more.
Because here's the thing, because you pretty much play you in a way, right? You know, and it's kind of an amplified you.
It's true. I limp in this movie. No, I don't even do that.
versus this. You have to, there's a large transformation from the you we see here versus the you we see on the screen.
It's a wig. It was a wig.
It's a wig. He wore a wig.
That was it. That's all it took.
That's pretty much it. I put on the wig and the character came along.
After this film, fans started to see a version of James Franco they never saw before. You can see him try to open up a little bit, not be
to be fair, James Franco always looks like he's high on his mind.
so dramatic or mysterious in interviews.
I'm happy with the movie. Seems like people like it, and it's actually like one of the first movies I've done in a while where I'm like just like watching it with people. The response is really good and it's just fun to watch. So it's just a fun kind of thing.
Why this one?
Another high movie.
Why this comedy?
Yeah. Bob.
Actually, I've been offered comedies before, but usually they're like kind of silly romantic comedies or whatever, and this was like the first one that felt like it was actually funny and be fun to do. So,
Seth, did you always know that James had his to be hilarious?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I met James, I was under, the guys we were all on a comedy together, I was surprised when he went off in kind of a more dramatic direction, if anything like that. I actually remember trying to convince you not to play James Dean. And I was wrong. I was wrong, dude. Yeah, that turned out well.
Pineapple Express didn't just bring James and Seth closer together, it also revived Franco's love for acting in a big way. In 2010, Franco's most notable project was the biographical survival drama film 127 Hours.
That's another serious film that he was in that I remember when let's just say my man had to slice and dice.
In the film, avid mountaineer Aaron Ralston must find a way to escape after he gets trapped by a boulder in an isolated slot canyon in Blue John Canyon, southeastern Utah. 127 Hours was well received by critics and audiences and grossed $60 million worldwide. The American Film Institute selected the film as one of the top 10 films of 2010. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including
out they fucking mind.
And grossed $60 million worldwide. The American Film...
Nigga, do y'all think that was better than Inception? You think it was better than The Fighter? I like The Fighter, actually. In Black Swan? Okay, if I had to list those 4 movies, Black Swan would be number 1, Inception would be number 2, The Fighter would still stay at number 3, and then this nigga James Franco movie.
Institute selected the film as one of the top 10 films of 2010. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Actor for Franco and Best Picture. It was another film that cemented James Franco as a legitimate Hollywood star. He was celebrated for his willingness to take risks, as well as his range as an artist. And while not every movie they acted in was a big hit, both Franco and Rogen were in the middle of a career renaissance that made them household names. Franco's notable films during this time included a wide range of different roles, like Eat, Pray, Love, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Spring Breakers, Oz the Great and Powerful. Seth Rogen kept making comedies while also branching out into dramas and romances like Observe and Report, Monsters vs. Aliens, 50-50, Paul, Take This Waltz, and The Guilt Trip. And all of this really culminated to the celebrity-packed comedy, This Is the...
I can't believe I went to the movies to see The Guilt Trip. The fuck was I on? I had faith in Seth Rogen at that time. I like This Is the End.
The End.
For years, we've been entertained by the idea of celebrities.
This Is the End pretty much tells you that they're not really friends. If you pay attention to the storyline, him and that other dude, Jay, I forgot his name. He's in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. They're friends, Seth Rogen and him.
Playing themselves doing supernatural things for some reason. I mean, like, there's always been, Larry Sanders Show and Curb Your Enthusiasm. There's been a lot of things where actors portray themselves, but we thought like adding in this element that's like totally surreal would really bring that idea to a new level.
Fucking hilarious. Especially like, that was one of the films that I actually had somewhat background knowledge on, because I was a fan of the short film that it's based on. And it went nothing like that. So, nothing like that. It was similar plot line, but it was him, Seth Rogen, and that actor, let me find his name, from The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Sorcerer's... I know that ain't how it's spelled. Messed up the heck out of that. Damn, it's been that many years. Oh yeah, Jay is pretty much his name. Jay Baruchel. I'm gonna just call him Jay. But yeah, Seth Rogen and Jay were like stuck in a bathroom or some shit during like an apocalypse. That was like the original premise. But the movie is about their friendship, not really Seth Rogen and James Franco.
Potentially. That's what we were excited about.
There were dozens of memorable celebrity cameos in this film, including Rihanna, Emma Watson, and Channing Tatum, who notably played Danny McBride's sexual gimp. When discussing his own role, James Franco seemed to act like a completely different person. He appeared to be much more confident. In an interview, he expressed his love for Seth Rogen as a close friend. And
I wanted to do it out, do it all over the walls. He said, "You better not. You said, do it right here." This is stupid. That was a funny ass movie. I like movies where it seems like just a bunch of comedians in a room just riffing off each other and just going back and forth. I put that up there with like movies like Life, Harlem Nights, where it's just like a group of comedians. The one with Adam Sandler is like that too, with the kids, Grown Ups, which is a bunch of comedians in a room just seem like they freestyle.
And how their growing relationship was one of the key reasons why he became so successful.
Now, I wouldn't say that I'm like obsessed.
You said you didn't know it was based on a short film? Yeah. Because I think Seth and Jay might both be from Canada or something. Like they were like friends, like friends in the beginning of them in Hollywood. And that other guy that Seth Rogen be writing with, I forgot his name too. There's some other dude that knew him as a kid. Yeah, they both Canadian.
Obsessed with Seth, but I do love Seth. Really, from like one of the very first things either of us did, Freaks and Geeks, to now, he's kind of been there and at important points in my career. The beginning, Pineapple Express, when I feel like my career really did change, and I started to do things that I really cared about. And
however, shortly after this, rumors began to circulate that James Franco tried to get involved with an underage fan, and the mounting evidence surrounding the event was pretty damning. Seth Rogen had a pretty crucial choice to make: dismiss James' actions or defend his friend in front of the world. In April of 2014, gossip sites published messages between the then 35-year-old James Franco and a 17-year-old Scottish girl named Lucy Claude, seemingly trying to lure her to his hotel room. Yikes. The teenager was visiting New York City, where she saw Of Mice and Men on Broadway. It was here where she encountered Franco, who was performing on stage. At some point, Lucy and other fans swarmed the stage and recorded videos of the actor. Franco told Lucy to tag him in the video on Instagram. Soon after, she posted her interaction to her Instagram, and James began following her. Now, it's not inappropriate or even uncommon for public figures to follow their biggest fans as a show of gratitude for their support, but this seemingly innocent exchange escalated drastically. Shortly after following Lucy, Franco sent her several direct messages, asking how old she was, if she had a boyfriend, and for her number. What? It is particularly interesting how frantic the messages seem, asking multiple rapid-fire questions before she can even respond. The 17-year-old responded by telling Franco her age and that she was visiting New York City with her mom. At this point, Franco was clearly aware that she was not 18, and yet he still exchanged numbers with the teen. The two switched to texting.
Can I see you? As long as you are James Franco? Oh my gosh, don't tell him that. I am. You're single? What's the hotel? Should I rent a room? April Fool's was an hour ago though. It's me. Yes, this nigga sends a picture of himself. Yes or no? Thursday.
Where he again
or tomorrow
spouted out rapid fire questions. Can I see you? You're single? What's the hotel? Should I rent a room? Before continuing the conversation, Lucy wanted to make sure that it was really Franco, so he sent the teenager a photo of himself. He also held up a piece of paper with her name on it. The situation made headlines when Lucy later shared her conversation with the actor online. Franco responded to the criticism with a strange, now deleted tweet, writing, "I hope parents keep their teens away from me. Thank you." With Franco's looks, success, and friendly public personality, fans didn't really know what to make of this. Some people speculated that this fiasco
the fuck is that supposed to mean, James?
Was a publicity stunt for his upcoming film, Palo Alto. In the film,
yeah, I seen that crazy movie. I seen that movie. It has a strong message though. He plays a coach for a soccer team that likes teenage girls. There's no other way I could explain that. That's what he plays in the movie. I already know what he about to say because I've seen this film. And I'm into like indie films and shit like that that has a message. And that one is like about self-discovery and certain shit. It's crazy. It's a crazy film.
Franco plays Mr. B, a soccer coach who starts an affair with a teenage babysitter. The idea that James was role-playing borderline to promote a film is absurd to say the least. He did have a history of method.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Acting, so some people wondered if this was just a part of that process. Soon after, Franco appeared on the Kelly and Michael talk show to address the mounting allegations. It was incredibly awkward, and Franco uncomfortably tried to joke around and share a rant about the dangers of social media.
I just didn't, I was just feeling awkward. I didn't want to come on the show and just feel awkward. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, I'm embarrassed, and I guess I'm just a model of, how social media is tricky. It's a way people meet each other today. But what I've learned, I guess just because I'm new to it, it's like you don't know who's on the other end. You meet somebody in person and you get a feel for them, but you don't know who you're talking to. And
this motherfucker's playing victim. Isn't that nasty nigga? He's playing victim. Like, yeah, man, I thought I could just hook up with someone online, And that's some shit James Charles would have said, bro.
Right. So I use bad judgment, and I learned my lesson.
I don't know why famous people use. That sounds like something fell down. I don't know why famous people use like their social media as like a hookup site. That's very weird.
But unfortunately, in my position, I have a very good life, but not only do I have to go through the embarrassing kind of rituals of meeting someone, sometimes if I do that, then it gets, published for the world. So now, it's like doubly embarrassing. But
while this definitely was embarrassing and weird, this didn't necessarily address the full context of the scandal. Lucy was 17 and James was 35, and he was well aware of her age. To be fair, they never actually met up. And even if they did, technically the age of consent in New York City is 17. So in terms of the law, there was no crime committed. Seth Rogen did not distance himself from James Franco. Instead, he did what most people would expect of a comedian: make a joke about it. While Rogen was hosting Saturday Night Live, his monologue was built around this.
I remember we looked that up on live stream. There's like a map that shows you that most of the country, like of America, the age of consent is like 17 mostly.
Fake log documenting the events leading up to the show. For a punchline, he made a jab at Franco, telling the audience that he trolled
some true crime
him by sending texts as an underage girl.
Wednesday, 3 p.m. They read all the sketches out loud. I didn't feel like I did great. So, to make myself feel better, I decided to prank James Franco. I posed as a girl on Instagram.
That's crazy.
Told him I was way young. He seemed unfazed. I have a date to meet him at the Ace Hotel.
Seth Rogen's joke helped make the incident seem like a silly mistake by a regular guy, but it was also an example.
That's dark as hell. Super dark.
Of how the two had become best friends. It was like Rogen's way of standing up for Franco at a time when he needed it the most. The two of them were also in the process of releasing their most controversial comedy yet, The Interview. It was so controversial that the North Korean government threatened action against the United States if Sony released the film. Of course, this mostly had to do with its incorporation of the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. Not to mention that it ends with his assassination. It seemed like no matter what, Seth stood by his friend and continued to work with him. James once said that he and Seth never had a fight in their entire career working together. It was always smooth. But Seth has a slightly different perspective, because James really tested Seth's patience on the set of The Disaster Artist. James Franco's The Disaster Artist was an adapted screenplay based on a film called The Room by Tommy Wiseau. Ironically, The Room is known as the absolute worst.
The fact that I knew about the damn movie The Room is crazy. I was really into watching films just growing up. But like anyone that's like really into film, they know of this horrible ass movie that's so horrible, it's funny as fuck.
First movie ever made. It was all about a director who makes such a perfectly bad movie that he ends up becoming a legend. Rogen said that Franco was perfect for the role, as he is often missed.
In America, it's like each state has a different age. Crazy. I think it used to be worse, but certain states petition to get it up higher. But nah. Nah, that's why a lot of these niggas like within Hollywood would travel across state to try to get with some of these joints. Like I remember, didn't Onision try to do that shit too? Y'all remember Onision? I said that shit like that nigga was a fossil. But there was like a YouTuber that was nasty as hell named Onision. Kind of looked like this. Like James on the screen right now. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he went across states to go meet some girl so they could engage in certain acts. And that might have been the case that we looked it up for. But I remember that being a big deal because he went across states to engage in certain activities, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there was another YouTuber named, what was his name? It started with an R. I think he was calling himself like Ren News or some shit. Some weirdo who he ended up getting exposed. And I think he had a girl come like to whatever state he was in for. So yeah, there's a lot of nasties that maneuver like that. They would go to certain states.
Misunderstood for his artistic interests.
And Franco, as someone who has done a lot of weird art throughout his life, constantly being misunderstood, misinterpreted, people thinking that the thought was great was stupid.
You said, is it worth the watch? Well, The Room doesn't have James Franco in it. So what he did was, I think he did a movie that's based on The Room. The Room is a film that was done by this dude that can't act, that couldn't get any roles in Hollywood. So he was like, fuck it. I'm going to just get some money and I'm going to film my own movie. And it was horrible. The acting is bad. The script is all over the fucking place. But it's funny as hell. So what James Franco, and I think that's his little brother too, and Seth Rogen, they did was they created a film about the making of the movie. So it's like you can't call it like a biopic, but it's done for comedy effect. The original movie is not supposed to be funny. The remake of the film or the making of the film is them acknowledging how horrible the movie is and why it's funny.
Film called The Room by Tommy Wiseau. Ironically, The Room is known as the absolute worst movie ever made. It was all about a director who makes such a perfectly bad movie that he ends up becoming a legend. Rogen said that Franco was perfect for the role, as he is often misunderstood for his artistic interests.
And Franco, as someone who has done a lot of weird art.
I've laughed at that shit. I did not hit her. I did not. I swear I didn't. He's literally saying it just like that. That's a whole scene in he walks into the damn roof, throws a bottle. I did not hit her. This is the most cringe movie. So if you're into cringe movies that's funny, like Trolls 2 and shit like that, that's a funny ass movie. But you know it wasn't supposed to be funny. And then the James Franco version is like a comedy acknowledging
throughout his life, constantly being misunderstood, misinterpreted, people thinking that the thought was great was stupid and vice versa. It was incredibly personal to him.
But the tone was different behind the scenes, as Franco felt it was time to bring back the method to capture the eccentric personality of Tommy in a believable way. He said, I'm directing a movie and acting in it and playing a character who is directing a movie and acting in it. At no other time in my career am I going to do this again. Being Tommy off camera made everything flow easier in hindsight. It helped create an atmosphere on set. That being said, I didn't go so far overboard as Tommy. I didn't give bad direction. I gave what I hoped was good direction. However, Seth Rogen said he was getting irritated by Franco's refusal to break character. I couldn't deal with it. Straight up. For the first 2 days, people would come up and ask me, where's James? And I was always like, he's right effing there. But regardless of how uncomfortable this made people feel, it was a lot different from Franco's fallout with Tyrese Gibson. The Disaster Artist ended up being a huge success during the premiere, and Rogen was also won over when his grandmother didn't recognize Franco in the film. He said, "My grandmother came out and she just did not get what the F was happening. She was walking around like, I thought James was in the movie. I never explained it to her." It finally looked like Franco had found the perfect balance in Hollywood, being able to portray serious, dramatic characters with depth and using method acting to be fully immersed, while also making silly comedies that have fans.
He says, so it's not really a remake, it's more like a comedy behind the scenes movie. Yes. Yes. 100%. That's the best way I can explain it. It's not a remake of the movie, it's a comedy biopic. Right? So like imagine I made music and I made an album that was so trash, but I took it seriously that 50 years from now, someone did a parody skit about the making of an album that I made, about how bad it was, but it's a comedy. That's what they did. It was pretty interesting. I've seen them do shit like that.
Belly laughing, and doing all of this while still maintaining a close and unbreakable friendship with Seth Rogen. But just as Franco had achieved the perfect career and life in Hollywood, it was about to come crashing down, and we were about to finally see just how strong or weak his friendship with Seth Rogen truly was. James Franco ran his own acting and filmmaking school called Studio 4 since 2014. The idea was to bring talented entertainers together and embrace techniques that could make them Hollywood stars. But there was always a competitive angle, with the course ending in students getting together and making a short film to see who gets the chance to work.
Hey, what's up, Katarina? How you doing? How are you?
Work with James Franco.
That was really good. We just saw some amazing work. We really did. In 1 week, these people, they wrote, shot, and edited these things. Some great acting, great everything. Very happy with all this work. Now remember, one actor is going to be chosen to work with James and Rabbit Bandini.
However, this institution gave James direct access to hundreds of young, aspiring female actors, ones who were eager for his approval and for a chance at achieving their Hollywood dream. This power dynamic needs to be respected and handled professionally.
Nigga about to do a casting couch. These niggas is nasty. The nasty ass shit. I play the nasty song now.
Professionally, and James Franco having a history of pursuing teenagers made this a disaster waiting to happen. This all started to unravel on January 7th, 2018. James won and accepted a Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy Film at the 75th Annual Golden Globe Awards. During the event, James wore a pin for Time's Up, the initiative to combat workplace harassment. While wearing the Time's Up pin at such a sensitive time in Hollywood seemed like
nigga was virtue signaling. See, opened Pandora's box with that fake ass woke shit she was doing.
The right move from a PR.
They got straws inside those bottles. I've never seen no shit like that.
Standpoint to win over the public, Franco unintentionally ruined his career on the night of his greatest success, starting with these tweets from a woman named Ali Sheedy. "Why is a man hosting? Why is James Franco allowed in? Said too much. Okay, wait, bye. Christian Slater and..."
The fuck? Why couldn't a man host? The fuck that got against me?
James Franco at a table on Golden Globes. Hashtag me too. James Franco just won. Please never ask me why I left the film /
I hate that hashtag, bro.
TV business. The woman felt that she had said too much and decided to delete her tweets, but she inspired others to speak out. Hey, James Franco.
Like the Aziz Ansari situation. That was fucked up.
Franco, nice Time's Up pin at the Golden Globes. Remember a few weeks ago when you told me the full nudity you had me do in 2 of your movies for $100 a day wasn't exploitative because I signed a contract to do it? Time's up on that. Now that you have a Golden Globe, why?
So, y'all got me sounding like I'm defending this nigga. I don't know what the going rate is for that. So you're saying, how old are you? Wait, what? Is this a grown woman that say that he didn't pay her enough? Let me hear it again. Maybe I misheard that. You had me doing 2 of your movies, $100 a day wasn't exploitive because I signed a contract to do it. Time's up on that. I don't know how much that you would get paid for that. I don't know if it was for one scene. I don't know if they were dancing in the background. I would have to know the full information. But yeah, I don't know if that's what's the normal pay for that kind of shit is. But I'm trying to understand what exactly she is saying though.
The full nudity you had me do in 2 of your movies for $100 a day wasn't exploitative because I signed a contract to do it? Time's up on that. Now that you have a Golden Globe, why don't you give speaking roles that don't require nudity in your upcoming films to the...
Why would you do that? It couldn't have been that bad for you to be like, okay, why would you sign a contract for that?
Dozens of women who have done full nudity and scenes in your indie films and art projects. Another woman named Violet said, "Cute time's up, pin James Franco. Remember the time you pushed my head down in a car towards your exposed and that other time you told my friend to come to your hotel when she was 17, after you had already been caught doing that to a different 17-year-old? To make matters worse, stories were now surfacing that Franco was using his acting school, Studio 4, as a way to groom aspiring actresses into having X.
Not them having a bed in the background. Why is there a bed in there? Like, I usually see like a stage or some shit in like these acting schools. This nigga got why is there a bed? If all of this shit is true, this is a sick ass nigga, right? Let me just be clear. If he is actually exploiting these girls and using his acting studio as a way to recruit for his nastiness, that's a nasty dude. I'm not defending him in any way, shape, or form. In fact, let me play the nasty song because I just want to make sure that's clear. I ain't defending.
Yeah. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, you nasty. You nasty fam, yeah. You know your name.
But now that I said that, and I got that out the way, why are you signing a contract? You signed that. If you're an adult, you're grown. Why are you signing contracts for $100 to be in films, showing off whatever? Like you're agreeing to this. You don't have to agree to that. You're selling yourself. You're doing that. You could say no. You could be like, nah, nigga. I ain't doing that. I'm cool. I don't know. Maybe they felt pressured or some shit. But why are you signing a contract for 100? That's weird.
One of the women who tweeted, Sarah Tither Kaplan, told the LA Times that the Time's Up pin was like a slap in the face and he unfairly leveraged his influence as a teacher. I feel there was an abuse of power and there was a culture of exploiting non-celebrity women and a culture of women being replaceable. When Sarah got into more detail, the story just got worse and worse, particularly when she claimed that Franco coerced her into doing graphic X scenes.
It was a lot of nudity and sex scenes that I felt were not artistically justified and were added in after the fact.
In May of 2015, a company employee sent an email to Tither Kaplan and her fellow sceners, informing the class that he just wanted to let them know that the films are now up on Studio 4's Vimeo channel. Sarah later discovered images from the film on at least one X-rated website. According to Kaplan, there was also a nude...
That's definitely is going to be what happens with any scene like that in any film or TV show or anything. So yeah, that's definitely. And you didn't think about none of this? It got me sounding like I'm defending this thing. I'm not. They didn't think about this when they agreed to do this? If they were all adults, why would they agree to do this? I'm sure they was aware of where it was going to go or if it was going to get posted. Are you surprised that a film got shown somewhere? Why would you do that? I think that should be something that should be like stressed in this moment. Like, stand up, nigga. No, I'm not doing that. I agreed to do this movie with these scenes, motherfucker. That was not in my contract. I'm not doing that. No. Maybe I'm tripping. I mean, things I say no to. What? Then I just say no just out the gate before a motherfucker make an offer. Nah. My bad. You was about to offer a sponsorship? No.
scene she filmed with Franco and several women 3 years ago. He removed protective plastic guards covering other actresses' private areas while simulating oral on them. Kaplan continued saying, I got it in my head pretty quickly that, okay, you don't say no to this guy. In response to the accusations, Franco made another appearance on TV. This time it was on Late Night with Stephen Colbert. During the show, Franco insisted that the accusations weren't accurate and that he truly wore the Time's Up pin as an honest show of support.
The things that I heard that were on Twitter are not accurate, but I completely support people coming out and being able to have a voice because they didn't have a voice for so long. So I don't want to shut them down in any way. It's I think a good thing, and I support it.
Franco's casting director, Cynthia Huffman, also came to his defense. James is all about...
What's up with this virtue signal and shit? You're supporting it. If what you're saying is true and they making it up and none of these things are true that they're accusing you of, why would you support the movement that's being used to take you down? That sounds odd.
Giving up-and-comers, actors and actresses, and young filmmakers a break in this business. Huffman said, I feel horrible that anyone was made to feel uncomfortable, but we went to great lengths to make sure all the actresses in the nude scenes felt comfortable and safe. From here, stories seemed to pour out of every part of the industry. One of them involved a woman named Hilary Dusum, who had taken a class with Franco in 2012 before he opened his school. For Dusum, the trouble started when she thought she would be a part of a short.
Okay, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Teachers, students, they're stressing that and not mentioning, is this person a grown-ass 33-year-old woman? So these are grown-ass adults taking this class and saying he manipulated them into doing scenes and films for a little bit of pay? The fuck are y'all talking about? You 33, you could say no. Am I being insensitive? You 33. You ain't learned not to sign a fucking contract? Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I don't know. That sounds odd as hell to me. Not defending this nigga, but they got to learn how to defend themselves. Like adults is what I'm talking about. Grown ass adults. But then I'm noticing how they're putting the whole, he was the teacher. They got me thinking he teaching high school students and doing this. Nigga, why are you? As soon as I seen the bed, I'd have been out. I take an acting class. I see a bed on the floor. I think I'd have looked at the bed, looked at that nigga, looked at the door, and then started heading towards that shit. Like, I don't know what kind of shit is going down here. I don't want that kind of acting lesson going on, but I thought we was going to be doing Shakespeare, sir. But yeah, that just seemed odd
before
to
he
me.
opened his school. For Dusum, the trouble started when she thought she would be a part of a short film, only to arrive at a strip club. According to Dusum, Franco dressed them up in lingerie and asked, so who wants to take your shirt off? Apparently, when nobody volunteered, Franco stormed off angry. Dusum told the press, I felt like I was selected for something based on my hard work and my merit, and when I realized it was because I have nice breasts, it was pretty clear that was not the case. Dusum said, I don't think he started teaching with bad intentions, but he went down a bad path and damaged a lot of people in the process. And one of those people he damaged was 23-year-old Violet Paley, which would end up being one of the biggest stories in the news. In 2016, Paley said she connected with James Franco in hopes that he would help her with a script she was working on. As they started,
If that's true, that's nuts. That nigga, it's like, all right, we about to do this acting at a strip club. Tell me what you working with. Yeah, that's nasty. That's a sick ass nigga right there. If that's true, that's sick. That's pretty nasty.
Started working together, she admitted that they had started a romantic relationship. However, things allegedly took a non-consensual turn when Franco pressured her into oral. I was talking to him, all of a sudden his was out. I got really nervous and I said, can we do this later? He was kind of nudging my head down and I just didn't want him to hate me, so I did it.
Looking back, do you feel...
And this is the person that's friends with the person that he contacted allegedly when he was 17.
Feel like you couldn't say no?
No, I could have said no, but because of the power dynamic, this situation was so surreal and I wanted him to like me.
While the relationship has ended, Paley...
Say no. Say if you don't want to do something, just say no. But also, trying to force her head down is crazy, nigga. That's nuts. That's wild. But definitely, if you don't want to do something, say no. Say that you don't want to do it. I don't understand. Let me know in the live chat or in the comment section what y'all think. And I'm not defending him because I just said the whole trying to force the arm shit is force her head is nuts. But say no, man. Like, I feel like we should start teaching that more. Like when you were a kid, they should no means no. Say no.
She admitted that she had a lot of trouble moving past the incident years later. In hindsight, she says she would have done things differently if given another chance. I would say, no, stop, get out of my car. She said the power dynamic was really off. By 2019, James Franco...
So is it because she thought maybe that her opportunities in Hollywood would be messed up or something like that if she said no?
Franco went from being one of the hottest names in Hollywood to being one of the most infamous alleged predators in the Me Too movement. On October 3rd, 2019, Sarah Tither Kaplan and another woman named Toni Gao officially filed a lawsuit against Franco and his partners at Studio 4. According to the New York Times, the two women called Studio 4 a scheme to provide James Franco and his male collaborators with a pool of young female performers that they could take.
That's Hollywood, nigga. Hollywood's disgusting. You need to know what you're trying to get into. This shit is foul.
Take advantage of.
So if that was the case, I ain't surprised. Not saying it's okay either.
In their lawsuit, they claimed Mr. Franco and his partners engaged in widespread, inappropriate, and charged behavior towards female students.
If he on a STEAM list, I wouldn't be surprised either.
By their power as a teacher and employer by dangling the opportunity for roles in their projects. These actions led to an environment of harassment and exploitation both in and out of class. Franco's lawyer denied the accusations and called the lawsuit ill-informed. James will not only fully defend himself, but will also seek damages from the plaintiffs and their attorneys for filing this scurrilous publicity-seeking lawsuit. 5 months later, it was reported that the lawsuit was settled and that Miss Tither Kaplan...
Why would you settle? So it was a civil case? I hate that shit. That was probably the reason in her mind that if she would have said no at the moment, her Hollywood career would have been over. And since her Hollywood career didn't work out, now she's speaking out. That's crazy. Listen, I told you guys my story of when I was like young as fuck. I got a songwriting and production deal when I was like 16, and a lot of craziness and wild shit and nastiness I seen and was fucking offered, and I literally ran the opposite way and was not trying to be in that industry shit. I only needed to see some demonic shit one time for me to go, nah, I'm cool, I'm out. So fuck the career. You could do it in another way. Like, and I'm not going to make it seem as if everything's a fairy tale to where it's like, you can achieve your dreams. But if you work hard, you can get in that field. There's a plethora of people that have been trying to get into the industry or trying to act or do whatever, and they didn't take shortcuts or try to do any favors or anything for people, and they were able to successfully get a career. Now, you won't be the biggest star. You won't be the most famous. You won't be like winning like billions of awards, but you'll have a decent career. One person I could give as an example is the actress from that movie, Ma. And I think she was in The Help too as well. But she was acting for years without no credit. Shit, even Viola Davis, she had it from the mud, nigga. Viola Davis was acting for a long fucking time. So there's people out here that would just put the work in and not have the mindset as her, of her. There's a movie, I think it might be a Korean movie, called The King of Comedy, and it got made 2 times, but it has the same message. And that is the message, is work hard, keep your nose down, keep going hard, bro. Take the little side bullshit roles, not to take your clothes off for $100 roll, but nigga, maybe you be a janitor with no words. still get $100 or $50. I had a friend, he was an extra. I think if they used him all day, he only made like 200 or something like that. Shoot, I used to bounce at the club with one dude that was in fucking Daredevil, and he only got paid a certain amount. But you just do that, and he did his shit for I think 20 years before he got a speaking role, and he was a cop in Daredevil. So like, yeah, you got to just go the long route. Look at me, I'm a YouTuber, live streaming. My numbers ain't ridiculous, but I appreciate my supporters who are here. You know what I mean? That's rocking with me. Nigga, I'm gonna go the slow route. I'm the tortoise right now. It's the tortoise in the here. I'm gonna go slow, one step at a time. One step at a time. Every day I'm gonna grow. Right? I'm not trying to use the Hollywood cheat code. So yeah, these motherfuckers needed to say no. Like, the fuck out the car. Leave. Go do some other kind of film. Like, look at even Robert Townsend. Robert Townsend did a movie where he used fucking credit cards. If Robert Townsend, who's a famous director, by the way, when he wanted to be in the industry and he wasn't getting a chance and they wanted him to sell his soul, so he did a whole movie talking shit about Hollywood and used credit cards to fund the movie, filmed a whole movie, got it in theaters, and it sold to where Hollywood, even though he was shitting on them and the message of the movie is fuck Hollywood, he found a way to break in on his own. Why is that never an option? You would rather let this man do this disgusting shit than say, I'm gonna get a bunch of money. I'm gonna learn how to write. I'm gonna write a fucking script and make my own independent film. Nigga, Kevin Smith did which one was it? Clerks. The first film, independent, on his own. I would rather build that motherfucker than participate in the bullshit. And that goes for everything. YouTube, music, fucking acting. If you don't want to play the game, create a new one. Actors are finding careers on YouTube, bro. Like, one of my favorite reaction channels is a channel full of actors that do reactions and give you behind the scenes information. So I don't want to say anything because it sounds like I'm defending Franco. I'm not defending Franco at all. In fact, I'm defending these females. I'm trying to tell them, fight. Fight the fucking fight. Don't ever feel like you have to fucking bend a knee or your head or anything or over. Fight. Go the long route. There's a whole fucking song about this. Y'all gonna make me play this shit and get a copyright, bro. Don't make me play this damn song. What? There's a whole song about this that was a hit single in the 90s with almost this exact premise. Hold on, let me see. What was it? What would you do? What would you do? City High. This shit was a hit single about the same thing. The same shit we talking about. This ain't like you defending James Franco. We trying to speak up for them. Like, don't let these niggas trick your fucking head up into doing some bullshit. Like, this don't just happen to female. I just told y'all I was in the music industry and seen some nasty shit and was like, no thank you. Mel Gibson went off in his own direction and wrote The Passion of the Christ. Independent. See? The Passion of the Christ is great. I agree. Because I love Passion of the Christ. That's a good movie. I'm not mad at that at all. But see, you can go your own way, go independent, and find success. There's a plethora. The Wayans brothers. There's a plethora. of people that do.
And Ms. Gal had agreed to drop their individual claims. In June of 2021, the terms of the settlement were revealed, disclosing that Franco paid more than $2.23 million to resolve the two separate legal disputes. Although many cases are settled out of court and don't necessarily imply guilt, to some, the massive payout implies that he didn't want to take this to trial because there may be things that are found out that would harm him even more. And just as the heat appeared to be dying down for Franco, another actor named Charlene Yi spoke out regarding another controversy with him. In an April 2021 Instagram post, Yi said, "When I tried to break legal contract and quit Disaster Artist because James Franco is a sexual predator, they tried to bribe me with a bigger acting role. I cried and..."
That's crazy. I remember her because she does this thing where she impersonates a turtle. Like she did it on a late night show. That's crazy if this is true.
Told them that this was the exact opposite of what I wanted, that I didn't feel safe working with an effing predator. They minimized and said Franco being a predator was so last year and that he changed when I literally heard of him abusing new women that week. Predators will perform empathy, gaslight, and say they will do better, all in order to protect themselves and continue to harm others. In another post, she said,
Mel Gibson isn't perfect. Yeah, he was wilding out, but at least he tried warning others. That's facts. Yeah, man, Hollywood is a shifty game. I'm always going to be on the side of independence. Y'all know that. Me and my older brother argue about that shit all the time. I fully believe that us as creators, we could do anything. We don't need the system for nothing. We could do it ourselves, bro. So, like, we shouldn't be pressured to do something that we don't want to. Like, because then you're going to have people that have power that's going to be nasty with it. Because power corrupts, bro. Power corrupts.
The white men saying it's not their responsibility when holding Franco accountable or when holding Seth Rogen and enablers accountable. Then whose responsibility is it? Yi also added in her caption that Seth Rogen definitely knew about the whole thing, insinuating that he was equally responsible. Seth Rogen was one of the producers on this film, so he definitely knows about the bribe and why I quit. Seth also did a sketch on SNL with Franco, enabling Franco preying on children right after Franco was caught. Franco has a long history of preying on children. This was a crucial point in James Franco and Seth Rogen's friendship, because before, Seth could have just easily ignored it and said, hey, that's his business. But now he was being accused of essentially being guilty by association or maybe even enabling James's behavior. And it was here where Rogen had a choice to make. If Seth was genuinely a good friend of James Franco's at seemingly the worst moment of his life and career, defending James would make Seth a loyal friend by definition, but it would also put him in a position where he could be canceled next, or worse, guilty of some crimes. But this controversy was just too big, and saying nothing was not an option. So a month after this Instagram post, Seth Rogen finally accepted an interview with the Sunday Times. And while people...
It's an ugly ass suit. That nigga look like Bizarro Riddler. That nigga look like Riddler's cousin. The questioner. The asker.
Were expecting him to disown or defend his buddy, he gave a neutral political answer that is open for interpretation. Rogen said, "What I can say is that I despise abuse and harassment, and I would never cover or conceal the actions of someone doing it or knowingly put someone in a situation where they were around someone like that." He also apologized for the joke he made on SNL, suggesting that it might have aided in sexual abuse. However, I do look back at a joke I made on Saturday Night Live in 2014, and I very much regret making that joke. It was a terrible joke, honestly. When asked about their relationship after the controversy, Rogen stayed pretty vague and admitted that they had become distant. To fans, it seemed like they probably stopped talking altogether. Rogen said, "I don't know if I can define that right now during this interview. I can say it has changed many things in our relationship and our dynamic." Now, logical people would not expect Rogen to take blame on James's behalf. If Seth truly didn't know what was happening behind the scenes, even Franco would probably understand if he chose to distance himself for a while. But Rogen gives this perfectly vague response. He refused to support Franco, but also refused to deny or outright condemn Franco. After several months out of the spotlight, Franco finally addressed all of the controversy on a SiriusXM interview. He looked absolutely exhausted and explained why it took so long for him to respond.
At that moment, I just thought, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to pause. Did not seem like the right time to say anything.
He also opened up about his relationship with alcohol in a way he never had before.
along the road, of trying to get success and, climb the top of that mountain, attention from women, success with women also became a huge source of validation for me. The problem with that is, I'm sure you can guess, like any sort of...
You a grown ass man chasing validation. That's crazy. You're a grown ass man. Anyone who's an adult, you should not be chasing validation in any way, shape, or form. You need to get over that shit in your 20s or something. The earlier the better.
Rug or anything.
You should not be in your 30s still chasing validation. You just need to work through that. Go see a therapist.
There's never enough. If I get this, then I'll be happy.
But through it all, Franco denies that the classes he taught were vehicles to exploit women. He even claims that the course he called Sex Scenes wasn't really about sex. It was just meant to be provocative and keep students engaged.
To be provocative and cool, but like they're reading Melville, in the class. That's basically what I was doing. It should have been called, contemporary romance or something like that. It was a class where they did scenes about whatever their romances in their, what they go through as young people. So meeting people on, dating apps or breakups or, just a bad date, stuff like that. That's what was being done in that class. It was not sex scenes.
And despite Rogen seemingly distancing himself from Franco publicly, James had nothing but good things to say about Seth.
I love Seth Rogen. I worked with him for 20 years. We didn't have one fight. He was my absolute closest work friend, collaborator. What he said is true. We aren't working together right now, and we don't have any plans to work together. Of course, it was hurtful, in context, but I get it. He had to answer for me because I was silent. He had to answer for me, and I don't want that.
Seth Rogen was basically forced to distance himself because it was affecting his career, not out of some moral outrage. They were literally acting together in the 90s. The only thing Seth Rogen did was distance himself once Franco got himself into controversies to save his own career. Now, multiple years have gone by since Franco settled his lawsuits and he had his falling out with Seth Rogen. He was recently asked about his present-day relationship with Seth, and he said, "I love Seth. We had 20 great years together, but I guess it's over, and not for lack of trying." When Rogen was asked how he felt about something so personal becoming so public, he said, "I absorbed so little media that it really wasn't on my radar." So now Rogen says that James's extremely public controversy that basically ended his career wasn't on Seth's radar. But if it wasn't on Seth's radar, that would mean that Seth just coincidentally stopped talking and working with James at the exact moment his allegations became viral news.
Nigga, Seth be making movies and TV shows. Like literally, not even with him acting in it. I'm talking about as in production and creation. Didn't he produce like The Boys and all this other stuff? Preacher, like that other one that's on Apple. I think, yeah, he's creating his own shit, bro. Like if he's on something, I'm not focusing on social media because I'm over here grinding, pretty much doing what James should have been doing. Instead of getting freak nasty in cars and shit, allegedly, then yeah, I'm not gonna like say anything like about that. Is he protecting his career by not associating with James Franco? Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think they were really friends. I'm telling you, if you watch the movie This Is the End, which I love that film, I watched that shit 1,000 times. That's one of my favorite get high or be on that green PG version of that. Be on that green and laugh. Like that's a very funny stoner comedy. But if you watch that film, it's about the friendship of him and Jay, not him and James Franco. James Franco is like shown as being super fake. So yeah.
And he was facing lawsuits. Or this is yet again another perfectly vague response for us to never really know the truth about their friendship. Sounds like Rogen is a solid guy keeping the trash as far away as possible. Not to mention the career suicide it would be to continue making movies with him. Honestly, good for Seth. I feel like it's so rare in Hollywood for people to cut ties with friends, even when people do deplorable stuff. I respect him for that. His laugh also brings me a lot of joy. While Seth Rogen didn't necessarily owe James Franco protection from the mob, you would have at least thought he'd be there behind the scenes. Now, if James was actually this horrible person and Seth didn't know, totally makes sense why he
was he behind the scenes for like there for him before? No, you just explained pretty much how he wasn't. Like that James Franco went and did his own thing while this dude Seth was developing his skills as a like actual creator, right? And not just trying to be in front of the camera. That nigga made super bad, bro. He made super bad. The fuck, James Franco ain't never make us super bad. You know how classic that film is? What? Seth Rogen, as much as like, I don't really like his newer films, but that nigga, he got classics under his belt, bro. He got classics where he's not even the star. Let me see. Yeah, Seth Rogen wrote Superbad, bro. You crazy? That nigga wasn't talking to no damn James Franco. Nigga, what that was a working relationship. Fans like to see them together in movies. I ain't gonna front, they had great on-screen chemistry as a comedy duo. But nigga, if your only connection is career, like how many of these YouTubers cut each other off? You see YouTubers that are YouTube friends all the time stop talking to each other once one doesn't, I guess produce the same amount of views or whatever. If somebody falls off, niggas will stop answering your fucking calls or whatever, or stop trying to collab. I see that shit all the time in the streaming world. So yeah, that's not odd. That's normal Hollywood shit.
Be done with him. But if that was the case, you would think Seth Rogen would just outright denounce James Franco. Like, Seth Rogen is not one to hold his tongue on controversial issues. So because he never publicly disavowed Franco, that means one of two things. He was really good friends with James Franco,
or he's hoping that once the cancellation dies down, they could do a Pineapple Express Part 2, nigga. That's you thinking about his coin, nigga. He's in production status now. James Franco's an actor.
He may have knew about his behavior or his tendencies and maybe enabled it or let him get away with it or just kind of turned a blind eye. Or maybe they were never truly friends and there just really wasn't anything beyond the surface of two guys making movies together. And this is the hypocrisy of a Hollywood friendship. 2 decades of stroking each other's egos, making millions of dollars and profiting off the fandom who ship them as besties, only for it all to get dropped in the span of a month once people start asking crucial questions of what was going on behind the scenes. Their fallout is a harsh reminder that there are no real friends in Hollywood. I think we can all agree that life was so much easier when we could just laugh at silly comedy movies and didn't have to worry about the moral character of the actors. This is one of the many reasons why we will never return to that amazing era of early 2000s comedy movies. But if you want to hear more about that, check out this video.
Nah, that's facts though. I used to love 2000 comedy movies. I still do. I go back from time to time and go rewatch American Pie, or there was this other one, I think it was called like Dead Man on Campus. That was a dark ass comedy. I used to love watching that shit. Super dark. Edgy as hell. But yeah. Nowadays, currently, people care about whatever your morals is. I can separate the art from the artist. You think I'm gonna stop watching Pineapple Express? Did I say Tropic Thunder before? Did I say Pineapple Express? I'm hard too. But yeah, I'm still gonna keep watching Pineapple Express. That's my shit. Tropic Thunder is another funny movie that you would laugh your ass off if you smoke. But anyway, that's my opinion on that. Tell me what yours is in the comment section. Hit the hype button.